In the heart of the night, this world will burn bright. We will set it alight. In the heart of the night, in the heart of the night, this world will burn bright. We will set it alight. In the heart of the night.
Hello everyone, I'm Anthropomantic Fiend and I do horror-related things on the internet. I'm doing a review of the movie Blind Witness today, but I actually just got back from seeing It Chapter 2, which I loved. I've actually seen 3 recent movies, all of which I loved and haven't done reviews for. Those were Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and It Chapter 2. If you want me to review any of those, please let me know. I'll just tell you that I absolutely loved all 3 of them. But I'm actually doing a review of the movie Blind Witness right now. I'm just saying my brain's kind of fried from just seeing something as long and epic as It Chapter 2, so bear with me. So Blind Witness is a movie that came out in 1989, and it's very much in the vein of a movie like Wait Until Dark with Audrey Hepburn. It features a main character who is blind. She gets embroiled in criminal activity and basically has to fight for survival and take matters into her own hands, much like in Wait Until Dark. It's not quite the same plot line or the same circumstances or scenario, but it's pretty similar in some ways. And it really does touch on the way that people take the disabled a little bit too much for granted. They are underestimated quite a bit, as is, demonstrated in this movie and in Wait Until Dark. This movie's a little less subtle and not as quite as effective a movie, but it's still a decent little movie. I'm not really going to tell you what plot is just yet, because I want to get out my overall thoughts. I'm not going to put the basic premise in the main spoilers, but I am going to save it for the end so I can talk about the other elements of the movie. But I'll just say, going into this movie blind, haha, funny joke, is probably the best way to go, because then the first horror sequence is especially effective if you don't know what's coming. So I'll save that for last, then get into the main spoilers, but first, everything else. This movie came out 1989. The film quality's not great. It looks kind of not very well preserved VHS-y, but it doesn't hinder the movie in any way. And there's actually, regarding the music and camera work, they're mostly decent enough, but I'm a sucker for synth music, so I liked a lot of the soundtrack in this, and there's actually some really beautiful shots in this movie. There's a scene set in this woman's hallway, and she's got windows with stained glass into them, and the moonlight is shining through them, and it's projecting the color onto the walls, and it's a really beautiful shot. And there's another really cool shot that I can't really explain until I've gotten into the spoilers, but I'll just say this movie's sort of camera work varies from decent enough to actually really cool. And the dialogue and plot lack in subtlety in some ways, but they're tolerable. The way I say that makes it sound like they're sort of on the verge of being bad, but they're really not. They're just not really, it's not really that noteworthy or, There's not really anything there to say, ooh, yeah, that was really good. But it's a nice little movie. Yeah, that's about all I have to say. I wouldn't really go out of my way to recommend this movie like I would with some, but if you want to watch it, I think it's a fairly cool movie. So, yeah, Blind Witness is cool. So, first my mini spoiler, and then I'll get to the other spoilers. So, basically the premise of this movie is it's this woman and their husband. It's her birthday, and she's had a big birthday party, and it's after the party that night when some people break into their house, and they want money out of a safe. I don't know if their motives were ever really fully explained, but they break in, and they're looking for money, and they bind this woman with duct tape. They bind her arms to her, and they cover her mouth, and that in itself is very terrifying. But then they have a little, like, I suppose it's a taser thingy that they're using on her husband, and they end up killing him and leaving him there. And yeah, she kind of has to deal with that, and the rest of the movie is her pretty much trying to figure out who it was that killed her husband, and not getting a lot of help from the police, who are trying to tie it to this other case, because they've kind of framed it to make it look like it's connected to that, and they don't really accept any kind of evidence that she tries to bring forward because she's blind. So she really just takes matters into her own hands, and that's the plot of the movie, more or less. So with that out of the way, if that makes you want to watch the movie more, cool. On to the actual spoilers. So there's a hypnotism scene in the movie. Does this really need to be under spoilers? No, it doesn't. So I guess this is another false alarm. Anyway, there's a hypnotism scene in the movie that is kind of campy. She's recalling that night, and it's very exaggerated, but somehow it still works. The main antagonist is very creepy, but also sort of funny in a very messed up way, where you sort of feel like you shouldn't be laughing. And he's got a little bit of like a Jack Nicholson feel to him, almost. And he also feels like Moriarty in the Sherlock TV series in some instances. He's sort of got that weird, funny, creepy thing going on. I wouldn't say he's as good as Jack Nicholson or the guy who played Moriarty, but he's good. I really only have one big spoiler, so here's the spoiler. So the ending sequence in this movie is a scene where she's bought a new house, which is really more of a fortress. Somebody even asked, are we building a house or a fortress? She doesn't really furnish it at all. It's like a big warehouse almost, and she set up all these security systems and things to catch these guys, and they end up finding their way to her, and she has like this camera flash that she set up, and she more or less blinds them momentarily with it, and then she's got like a taser on a stick, and she's poking it through this big gate thing that she's set up, and just sort of screaming, "How does it feel?" at them. And it's wonderful in some ways, because she is totally taken matters into her own hands, but she's not totally sure of herself. One of the guys who's breaking in dies, and the other guy, the main villain, manages to evade her and then find his way to her again. And there's a scene where the lighting's fairly dim, but there's extra illumination coming from whenever a car goes by, and he's sort of standing behind these boxes, so you can't really see him. Then a car will go by, and he's there. Then it's dark again, and then another car goes by, and he's not there. He's somewhere else. It was just really cool, because It wasn't like completely black in the shadows he was hiding in, but you were always just sort of squinting like, is he there or is he not? And then it just kept you guessing, and it was really cool. I'm not even going to spoil the end of the movie for this. I'm going to make you watch it. But I'm just going to say it's a fairly happy ending. You can probably guess what happens. But yeah, Blind Witness, check it out. I don't really have anything else to say for this. It was a decent enough movie, but maybe it's because I just watched It Chapter 2, but I'm kind of underwhelmed by it at this point. But it was a cool little movie, so check it out if you want to. Thank you for watching my review, for sitting through it this whole time. Hopefully I'll see you in another video. Thank you for watching.